player we're going to talk about today could just be one of the most underrated and underappreciated players in the history of West Virginia Mountaineer football, especially at the quarterback position. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let's talk about it. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz. Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Pull up that chair or grab yourself a bar stool, just whatever makes you comfortable, and let me serve you up another shot of top shelf college football content. On tap in today's episode, we are talking about former West Virginia Mountaineer quarterback Jarrett Brown. That's right, Jarrett Brown, former backup to Pat White, also was a starter for the Mountaineers as well. We're going to talk about his recruiting, his career at West Virginia, his career as a pro, and then finish it out with what he's doing today since his playing days have ended. So Jarrett Brown, he started out as part of the 2005 recruiting class. He came out of Palm Beach Lakes High School in West Palm Beach, Florida. He was 6'3", 192 pounds at the time. He ended up playing at about 224. He was a three-star recruit in that 2005 class. He was a dual-threat quarterback, was rated as the 12th best dual-threat quarterback in the country per Rivals, and then was the 66th best player in the state of Florida, according to Rivals. Along with West Virginia, he also held offers from North Carolina State, Minnesota, and Iowa, among some smaller schools like UCF. He spent the first 3 years at WVU as a backup to Pat White. The timing could not have been worse for Jarrett Brown because, in my opinion, Jarrett Brown was talented enough to start at West Virginia if he had been there in a different era. But he was there during the Pat White era, and we all know there was not anybody taking that spot because he's an all-time great. Not only an all-time great at West Virginia, but he's arguably one of the best college quarterbacks to ever strap him on. So, and Jarrett Brown was there during that time. So he was, only time he was able to see the field is if Pat White went down with an injury or he came in for mop-up duty. That is, until the 2009 season, after Pat White graduated, Jarrett Brown finally got his opportunity to be the guy behind center in Morgantown for Coach Bill Stewart and his staff. During that 2009 season, Jarrett Brown went 187 for 296 passing, which is good for 63.2% completion percentage, 2,144 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, but 9 interceptions. For his career at West Virginia, he was 268 for 421 passing, 63.7% completion percentage. What that shows me there, when you look at his season completion percentage, the year he was a starter where he obviously had a lot more attempts, his completion percentage stayed about the same with, obviously 0.5 of a point difference, not much. And considering he had more attempts, that's a good percentage. So he was pretty accurate with the football. He threw in his career for 2,983 yards, 16 total touchdowns, and 13 total interceptions. So his touchdown to interception ratio was not very good, but he made up for it in other ways. He had a very strong arm, and he was also really good with his feet. Like I said earlier, he was a dual threat quarterback. That showed during his time in Morgantown. Not only could he make people miss, he could also run over people. He was a very strong runner. I used to love watching Jarrett Brown play, and I always felt like Jarrett Brown was an extremely underrated player. Now, when his career at West Virginia was over, he ended up playing in the Senior Bowl and then going on to the 2010 NFL Scouting Combine. And according to ESPN, he was the best performer among all quarterbacks at the Combine in 2010. He ran one of the fastest 40 times among quarterbacks ever at the Combine with a 4.54 40-yard dash. Right now, that holds up to be the 5th fastest time among all quarterbacks. Now, there's more than 5 players. I think he's like 8th or 9th all time, but it's the 5th fastest time because there are a few guys who are tied ahead of him. He also had a 34.5-inch vertical jump, which is also really good for a quarterback. Unfortunately, none of that led to him getting drafted. Ended up having to sign as an undrafted free agent with the San Francisco 49ers. Ended up landing on their practice squad. He bounced around the NFL for a couple seasons on practice squads for the 49ers, for the Cleveland Browns, and the Indianapolis Colts. Once he did that, then he ended up playing in the CFL for the BC Lions, and then ended up spending some time in the Arena League with the Spokane Shock, where he actually ended up starting some games for the Shock. And then he ended his playing career playing for another Arena League team, this time the West Virginia Rough Riders, where, oh, by the way, he also played with former teammate, another West Virginia great, Noel Devine, one of the leading rushers in West Virginia football history and a recent inductee into the West Virginia Hall of Fame. So that is Jarrett Brown's playing career. What's he doing today? Well, I did some research online, and number one, I found that he has coached some high school football. He has served time on the offensive staff as the offensive coordinator at American Heritage School in Delray Beach, Florida. He's also the CEO of a company called Creative Player, where he trains football players, young football players. Looks like they're mostly high school age players. And then probably the most interesting fact that I found about Jarrett Brown is he's a barber. He's a licensed barber in Georgia, looks like he's now living close in the Atlanta, Georgia area somewhere. I think it's Covington, Georgia, is where he's a barber. You can see on the screen right now a photo of an ad he's got on social media. But Jarrett Brown, in my opinion, goes down as one of the most underrated players in West Virginia history. He was an extremely talented player, and in my opinion, one of the most loyal players, because when he was under Pat White, I felt like Jarrett Brown could have transferred out of the program and went and played at another school where he could have gotten a lot more snaps and probably even been a starter at another program, maybe even another Power 5 program, or at that time, what would have been a BCS program. But he didn't. He stayed loyal. He stayed with the program, played it out. And I know they didn't have immediate eligibility back then, but players could still transfer out. They would have to sit a year. But Jarrett Brown chose not to do that. He chose to stay in West Virginia. And as you can see, when you look him up on social media, he's always proud that he's a West Virginia Mountaineer. He promotes West Virginia on his social media accounts and things like that, even in his created player business. He has the outline of the state of West Virginia, a lot of his merch items and things like that. So you can tell he's proud to be a former player for the West Virginia Mountaineers. There's photos on social media of him at games and things like that. So very good to see. Jarrett Brown, I'm glad to see he's doing well for himself. Looks like he's made a great life for himself down in Georgia. Even got to play some professional ball, which most people can't say that. There's only a very small percentage of people who get to play professional football. Folks, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about Jarrett Brown? Do you think he's a very underrated player? I want to hear your thoughts about him. Also, folks, I'm proud to announce a new channel partner here, Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. Folks, go to BlueRidgeCoffeeCrafters.com. There's a link in my description box. Go to their website, get you some really good coffee, and it's all natural coffee. They don't use chemicals in their coffee. It's all natural. Go check it out. Some really good stuff. And when you're there, when you make your purchase, put Couz's, COUZ' or Couz's Corner in the description when you make your purchase, and I'll get a small commission. So shout out to Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters for partnering with me here at Couz's Corner. And another announcement. I've got 2 new merch designs out for you to get. And it's perfect timing because right now, if you buy something in the Couz's Corner merch store using the link in my description box, you can save 15% on all items through February the 27th, and 2 brand new merch items. I've got the Bouncer line. You see it on the screen now. Now, what does Bouncer mean? That's you guys. Bouncer is to celebrate my Couz's Corner channel supporters. You guys are my bouncers here at Couz's Corner because you always have my back. And to show you my appreciation, I made you your own merch. So go get you a Bouncer shirt right now in my merch store. Say 15% off. And by the way, if you're a Mountaineer Maniac level member in my channel, you get an additional discount on top of that with the link that I shared in the community tab. So check out the community tab if you're a Mountaineer Maniac member, and you'll get an even bigger discount on the merch. And then there's the Hoops from the Hills design that I also came up with. Hoops from the Hills is the basketball channel that myself and Mountaineer Paul are partnered on. If you like West Virginia Mountaineer basketball, please go check us out at that channel and subscribe to the channel. And we also now have merch available. So get you a Hoops from the Hills t-shirt or Hoops from the Hills hoodie or whatever you want over there. The link to that is also in the description box. And obviously, because Paul's my partner on that channel, any merch I sell of that, Paul will also get a piece of the pie. Last but not least, you can support this channel for absolutely free in 4 ways. You can like this video by hitting the thumbs up button below. You can share it out with your friends. Let them know about me here at Couz's Corner, especially if they're a West Virginia fan. You can drop that comment below. Let me know what you think about Jarrett Brown. And last but not least, subscribe to me here at Couz's Corner. Help me get to that 5,000 subscriber mark. It's a big goal for content creators to get to 5,000. With that being said, I really appreciate your support. I appreciate you tuning into this episode. And until the next one, Q Country Roads.